Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're doing something a little different. As the title suggests, this is something of an account tour, where I go through and highlight all the most important details and factors of my account that I've been running for, what, 7.5 years now almost, and basically give you a retrospective on where it's come from, but also where it's going and my plans for the future. Also, for the first time ever, I wanted to sort of publicly talk about on this channel how much money I think I've spent on the game. I've talked about this pretty frequently on Twitch, but I know there's a much smaller audience there watching, so I don't blame you guys for not knowing this sort of stuff. But you may be sticker shocked when I say upwards of $15,000. Now, I have to clarify things a little bit. It is $15,000 Canadian, so you can do the math and sort of change it into your local currency if you want. And I'm not 100% sure that it's exactly 15,000. I think that's a really good ballpark. It may be under or over by a couple of thousand, but it's not too much. But it is a lot of money. It is a crazy amount of money to spend on a mobile game. Obviously, there are bigger whales out there, humongous whales out there, not only in this game but in other games. So on the one hand, it's a crazy amount of money. On the other hand, there are people that you could add a 0 or add 2 zeros and they still wouldn't blush. So that's just the nature of this crazy type of game that we're playing. But of course, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be able to make content and have spent that much while keeping my sanity if it weren't for all of you watching and supporting the channel, right? I run this channel and I run this account now as a full-time business. I played it casually and my spending reflected that for about the first year when I picked up the game back in May of 2015 when it released. But ever since June of 2016, I have approached my account from more of a business point of view, and that has basically been reflected in the majority of my purchases. I do some impulse buying from time to time around big sales like, you know, Black Friday or the anniversary, but by and large, just to put it into perspective, I look at all of these packs and I look at all of these sales, and I try, it's not a 10 out of 10, but I try maybe like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 to justify, you know, if I buy this pack and I tier 4 Black Widow, how much content can I make out of it and that sort of thing. So it's not your average whale. It's a bit more complex than that. So that's why I thought it would be an interesting topic. And also, I kind of want to not only demystify how much money it takes to be at the top in this game, because I would consider my account one of the top accounts, but also to let players know that it's not really possible unless you do spending as well as playing for a long time to achieve a roster this big. This game is touted as one of the cheaper or more free-to-play friendly games out there for sure. I'm not arguing or I'm not trying to say that MFF is not a free-to-play friendly game and such and that sort of thing, but there's a big difference between what a free-to-play player can achieve in 7 years of grinding and playing versus what I was able to achieve, aided and helped by, you know, pretty consistent spending, having literally a Stark stash for 7 years running, never missing a month of that, and you know, being able to whale at specific points in time in order to get big jumps in my roster value and my roster power in terms of things like, you know, building up my cards, being the first to get specific tier 4s or tier 3s back in the day or whatever. I actually didn't whale back in the day for tier 3s. I slow grinded Captain America, and then I believe I skipped Spider-Man and Iron Man, and I jumped ahead to Ant-Man, which was super weird at the time. I wasn't always a meta chaser. That's the other funny thing that I want to sort of highlight. I wasn't always a meta chaser. It's been much more recently that I focused in and zeroed in on meta chasing and, you know, really building the top metas for specific content with top builds. But there definitely has been a widening of the gap for the game. And the sort of idea of having a max build character nowadays is so much more expensive than it's ever been, not only because of tier 4s and sort of reforged CTPs, but also because of artifacts and how difficult it is to obtain 5 and 6-star versions of artifacts, which you absolutely need if you're going to go for very high rank builds or very high ranked growth score, like rank 101 on Thor there. So yeah, we're not necessarily going to focus on the meta for this video, but I wanted to put that out there. I also wanted to give you guys a little history tidbit. Did you know that back in the day, it doesn't happen anymore, but back in the day for MFF, for the VIP levels, they had special sales where it was around Black Friday, where you would get double or triple the amount of VIP points relative to the crystals. Nowadays, they don't do that anymore at all. But back in the day, they ran this sale once or twice, and I took advantage of it. So just to clarify, nowadays, if you spend $100, you get whatever that proportion amount of crystals is in your VIP points, right, for your VIP level. But back then, if you spent $100, however many crystals you got, they would then triple that. So it would be as if you had spent $300, even though you only spent $100. So there was a time when you could really min-max your VIP level, and that's how I sort of treated my account. If you look at the spending has definitely ramped up in the last couple of years, especially if you go back and look. I was stuck at around VIP 12 and then VIP 15 for a very long time, and then suddenly from VIP 15 I quickly reached VIP 20. And if you guys know, it takes more money to get from 15 to 20. Like, it's exponential, right? So getting there faster means I was spending a lot more. But for the first few years of the game, I was spending very carefully. Even though I was running the channel, I was making some money, I was spending very carefully to not lose myself in the rat race for top power level and chasing all of the metas. So yeah, and nowadays I'm sort of scaling it back a little bit. I haven't tier 4'd Black Widow, I haven't tier 4'd Storm or Blue Dragon. There's definitely more meta chasing that I could be doing if I wanted to, but it's sort of a reaction to not only the game's popularity and the channel's success, but also a reaction to the way the developers are sort of stonewalling us for resources, right? Because I have one of the most infamous, I have a pretty stacked inventory here with stuff saved up, but it's not really necessary to hoard this much if we're not getting the content to justify it, right? There's no characters, there's very few upgrades outside of tier 4 these days, so it's something that I'm watching carefully and I'm gonna monitor. But for the time being, I don't mind just hoarding my resources and making other content, waiting for the devs to sort of make a move. It's sort of like who blinks first type of situation. But yeah, so as far as my roster wide strength, what I wanted to highlight in the video, like, yeah, you can scroll through. I didn't want to go and talk about individual characters. For reference, obviously I have every single character, 249 out of 249. I have also every character above level 60, so I've unlocked all of their potentials. I'm working on getting every character to level 70 as well. You can see there from Thane and Victorious, everyone up has their level 70 potential completed, so they're ready to go for tier 3 or Transcendence. So I'm missing about 34 characters here that are not, from Craven down to Singularity. But the reason why they're not there is it just costs too much gold. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll just do this on Craven. He is level 64. So actually, I'll do another example here. I'll do Singularity just for the kick of it. So I'm at 360 million gold. Pretty easy here. Now I could spend the time to do this and do the 10% method, but this would take literally ages because I have to do it for 34 characters. And unfortunately, I have a small family. I don't have any uncles or cousins, nephews, nieces that I could just pawn this labor off to and get them to do it and be like, hey, I'll give you $5 if you press these buttons in this exact order. Plus, I'd probably be too scared that they would accidentally like buy something on my account or like destroy my account, re-equip one of my comic cards or some sort of other horror like that. It would make for some pretty funny content in the meantime, where I could be like, guys, a 12-year-old destroyed my account. But I'm sure that although that's fun, it would probably shave a few years off in stress, and it would probably give me a lot more white hairs, and I have enough as it is. So yeah, we're just gonna go through and do this so I can show you guys just how expensive it is. We're gonna do the 100% method. Like I said, I know I could do the 10% method. I know that it saves resources. It doesn't actually save gold on average, so that doesn't really even defeat the main purpose of doing that. Shout out to Don Cheadle and Teddy for Armor Wars. But yeah, it costs about, you get 60 crystals. That's cool. But it costs about 10 million gold. You can see there, 9.5 million gold gone. So if I wanted to do the other 33 characters, it would literally deplete my gold. It would cost me about 300 million gold. And I just can't afford, well, it's not that I can't afford to do that. I can afford to do that, but that's part of why I've been able to keep my roster so competitive for so long without having to really break the bank. Like, I know 15K is a lot of money, but again, there are whales that try to keep up with me and they've spent more money than I have. And so part of that is budgeting, right? And knowing that even though I have the gold, I am also saving the gold. What if they drop Gore next week and I have to build him right away for some kind of content? So I always need to keep a float of like at least 200 million gold, because a character like Gore or any other native tier 2 is gonna right away drain 100 million gold right away if I want to max them out day one. Because not only do you have to factor in the cost in gold to rank them up, but it's also the things like, you know, fusing the CCF or fusing the black antimatter or whatever. And I have some saved, but not enough. So you always have to keep afloat, and that's really why I've been able to keep my account competitive for so long without having to overspend. I definitely could have spent less, but I also could have spent way more to be where I am, to be in a top 16 alliance, you know, to be top whatever. I'm in Challenger League right now. Like, at any given point in time, I've been Master of Shadowland. Like, I can push the account to do more, but it's also about, you know, picking your battles, right? Because if the more battles you want to engage in as a whale, the more money you're going to have to spend. So I want to pick my battles. I want to choose where I'm putting my name on the line and where I'm putting my roster to test, rather than doing it 24/7 constantly. Plus, it's exhausting. I've been running this channel for over 6 years. I don't really want to be playing MFF all day long like I used to. So I'm sort of taking breaks here and there. But yeah, the roster-wide strength is something that I think doesn't get talked about enough, but it's one of my proudest moments, or one of the proudest aspects I have of this account. Because, like, for example, I'll give you one method of sort of litmus test for this. If you take these rank 3 type enhancement tickets, you can't use them on any characters on my roster. What about rank 2? Can't. What about rank 1? Can't. Why is that? Because every single character on my roster, and if I just do a quick little zip through, every single character is either rank 3 or higher, right? And I'm gonna just zip through this as fast as I can, because it's true, and you can slow down the video and watch, but it's really something that I've worked on. They're all 3 or higher. A lot of them are already 4, and of course the native tier 2s are usually 4 or 5 or 6. And this is just one aspect of the build. The builds themselves are not perfect. I definitely have mistakes on the builds roster wide, but this is one aspect of the builds that I've been able to shore up and clean up, that has made me happy, that has improved their growth score, that makes them better for Shadowland and other content, and it has a lot of cascading benefits. So for example, in Dispatch, I probably have one of the highest Dispatch total growth scores. So if you look up there, the growth grade, it's 16 on this Dispatch sector, and there's 12 sectors. So it goes from 16 to 16 to 18 to 19, and then we go to 20, 19, 20 again, 21, 25, 18, 20, 20, and then we're done. And I purposely put some of the stronger characters with higher growth score in some of the later dispatches, because it will affect the drops that you get. And I wanted to focus. You can see the one that's much higher than everyone else, 25. It's I think Awakening Crystals. I wanted to focus on specific materials that I wanted to get more of, because it will affect the drops that you get, right? So that sort of thing is not possible if I don't build my roster as wide as possible. If I just focus on the metas and I just focus on the top 20 or the top 30 characters, my overall growth grade on my account would be shitty, would be much, much lower. And that's just really not satisfying. Of course, there are other benefits, like for the story mode, having transcended in tier 3 to almost every single character. I have almost every single character available for these missions whenever they change. You know, I have to keep up with it, like we recently transcended Angela and Nadia and all these other crusty characters, but I have kept up with it. Right now, I'm only missing Sandman and Vulture. So I'm only 2 characters away from having a maxed out character bonus in squad battle, which is 142. So I'm pretty happy about that. We will be transcending Vulture soon to catch up with that. But these sort of total growth rewards, they extend beyond just Shadowland. I think a lot of players think, oh, you're only building your roster wide either for like a big Shadowland push once or twice a year, or for Alliance Conquest. But there are definitely other reasons to do so, like squad battle, like Dispatch. And the one that I like about Dispatch, and the one that I like the most, to be honest, is Dispatch, is the fact that it's passive, right? I don't have to actively do anything. I'm just rewarded for my roster. There's also Multiverse Invasion, but I cleared that requirement like as soon as it was released. If you look at the rewards and the rank, like, you know, you can, there you go. Well, that's my rank for my score. I don't care about that. It's more about like the bonus stage. Yeah, I cleared this one right away because I just had the points I have just far exceeds what you need for that, given that I've built my account so wide for so long. So yeah, as far as what I can improve on my account, because there's definitely tons of things I can improve. And again, I don't want to highlight every single one, but I recognize that there are multiple things that I can improve. The biggest one that I'll probably get criticism for from other whales is not having enough reforged CTPs, and I know that, but that's an intentional choice that I've made very clear and very public and vocal about. I have very few reforged CTPs, especially on PvE metas. I usually reserve them for PvP metas just because PvP is not as popular of a game mode, but it's also a less forgiving game mode. Like, you can't really get away with using regular CTPs in PvP if you want to compete. And if I want to compete at any given time, I want to be able to step in and compete without having, you know, a huge burden of investment laying ahead of me. So yeah, I've sort of strategically placed my anniversary and Black Friday purchases and spending to give myself those keys so that whenever I want to go and unlock those PvP doors, I can. And I'm satisfied with my PvE performance on the other hand, and I sort of take it as a personal challenge. Like, okay, they can go up to stage whatever with reforged CTPs. How high can I go without it, right? And then that will give players who don't do that or don't want to engage with that part of the game more hope, and it also gives them a higher ceiling because they're like, oh, Alex can go to stage 50? That means if I have a reforge, I can go even higher than 50. Dope. So I sort of like that duality of it. I think that's sort of a more fun way to play, at least for me. It's not for everybody, but I enjoy it. But yeah, one of the easiest things to point at, besides the reforged CTP things that's weak on my account right now, is my agent level. And I'll make a separate video about this, but I'll basically just leave you guys with this clue that I have been neglecting my agent level, but I have started to pay attention to it lately. And I may be paying even more attention to it in the future soon to reap some of the benefits of the agent level bonuses. So yeah, thanks so much for watching the video. Let me know what you think. I'm gonna get a real interesting mixture of comments this time around because we've never had a conversation like this about the game. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.